Hey guys, today's story is about a DM ruining a months-long campaign with evil twins. We were running the Kingmaker AP in Pathfinder and getting rather far into it. This takes place a bit after a friendly kingdom vanished. Our DM was actually really good. He could write decent homebrewed side quests that directly related to our characters. He could balance encounters really well, and he knew the rules inside and out. The problem, I guess, was that he mastered all the material. For quite a while, he would make comments about our character builds and how we could improve them, and sometimes we would take his advice. But generally, we did what we wanted. I myself was never a fan of min-maxing. Our DM never got visibly upset or admonished us for not making optimal builds, but every time we leveled up, it was clear that he got more and more frustrated. Here's a very important facet of our campaign, for those who don't know. The Kingmaker AP has a lot of downtime. Months could go by with no story hook, and only one or two minor side quests would be available to pursue between kingdom building rounds. But we had been making a lot of progress in this downtime regardless. My ranger opened a bar that wound up being the focal point of several plot hooks, so some of the bar's employees became rather important to the story. The alchemist had a magic mushroom operation under the keep and ran a drug trade with a small gang of kobolds, each of which he named. The cleric got married. I was the best man at the wedding, and his wife was expecting a baby. I can't quite remember what the rogue and the barbarian had going on, but they were similarly investing in some personal projects and building relationships with NPCs. Back to the story. The rival kingdom, Pitax, had sent assassins to take us out. We found out about this somehow, but we had assumed that we would, at some point, just get ambushed by some baddies on the road. And yes, that's exactly what happened. We were on our way to investigate why everyone in the friendly kingdom disappeared, when one night, while we were sleeping, the cleric on watch got shot with a bullet, and then backstabbed by an invisible rogue, and then hit with a ray attack. Then the DM does what I think ultimately doomed the party. He picked up the DM screen and tossed it aside. "Roll for initiative," he says. I can't remember exactly how the combat went, but it wasn't pretty. The cleric started off combat basically dead on his feet, and I had no time to put my armor on. I remember that a huge half-orc with a great axe charged our alchemist, who was still on the ground after waking up, from off the map, and hit him with a full round attack. I swear that thing cleared like 80 feet in one turn. The alchemist died immediately, of course. On the cleric's turn, he decides to channel energy, which turned out to be pointless because immediately afterward, he got critted by the sniper, which basically blew a hole in him. Dead. Then we got blindsided by an alchemist, who was also invisible, who caught 3 of us with a bomb. So the alchemist the cleric gave his life to save died again. I sent my wolf to go and locate and attack the sniper, and it got brutalized by a couple of summoned infernal minions. The combat dragged on a little bit longer before we came to the realization. This group of assassins was comprised of each of our character classes. There was a cleric who kept summoning demons and debuffing us, a sprinting, pouncing barbarian, a crit monkey rogue with dual kukris, and a gnome alchemist. And we could only assume the sniper, who we never found, was my ranger counterpart. We were fighting an optimized version of us. These were the builds that the DM had been suggesting we play the entire game, and he was using them against us. I think the DM soon realized the huge problem he caused, because he started having the assassins take unnecessary actions, like taking turns to heal any tiny amount of damage we did. But without the ability to fudge dice rolls, he couldn't justify having the assassins hesitate every round, and if he put the screen back, it would basically be an admission that he would be fudging his rolls from then on. I can only imagine that his aim for removing the screen was to show us that his builds could beat ours fairly. I'm sure he didn't intend for the encounter to kill us, and would have had them retreat at some point, but I could never figure out what his exit strategy was. He must have just grossly underestimated how strong he made these guys. We did manage to down the rogue and barbarian, but eventually the DPK came. We took a break and I asked, "What the heck was that?" The DM said something like, "Well, if a king wants to assassinate a party, wouldn't it make sense to hire people who could just do what you did, but better?" After all, they were technically our exact CR rating, for whatever that's worth. He offered us an out, having the assassins accidentally leave our rogue alive since he was the last to go down, and for whatever reason, forgetting to take any of our money or loot. Problem was, the cleric was dead. Dead since his body was mutilated because he took a massive damage amount, and we used a critical hit deck that messed him up. And this was a real problem because the cleric was the king. And we had no idea where to get a resurrection spell. And on top of that, the rogue was basically stranded in the middle of nowhere with 4 bodies. One that's not entirely whole, and somehow had to make the 5-day trek back to the city through the wyvern-infested mountains while wounded and leading 4 other horses with his friends tied to their backs. We thought of every way to try to save our characters, including having a session where we play a rescue party that comes to our party's aid, with scrolls of Raised Dead, but this just begged the question of why this other seasoned group of adventurers would just leave us all intact when they know we could just be raised by our subjects later. No matter what we thought of, it just sounded more and more like cheese. We concluded that the only fair way to continue would just be to make new characters, but we hated that idea most of all. A new party would just mean starting from scratch in the kingdom without any of the relationships or projects we'd been working on for months. We had so many things to look forward to with our characters. We had been coming up with detailed plans for the kingdom, individual enterprises, and now we had no connection to any of it. I would never even get to meet my godchild. Eventually we decided to start up a different game temporarily, until we could figure something out. We never went back to that Kingmaker campaign. Well guys, I'm going to keep it short. First off, don't try to force your players to play a specific class or how you want them to play. Let them play their character, as they want to play it. Secondly, don't make a munchkin character that you wanted them to play to kill them with. But in any case, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have a story that you'd like me to narrate, let me know. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.